Today, we'll be checking back in with the latest wrestling news regarding Becky Lynch and one of Smackdown's superstars who threatened to walk away from the WWE. I'll get into all these stories right now. Starting off with Becky Lynch. Last time we heard about Becky, Seth Rollins was the one that was giving the real update on her. He said that Becky has been absolutely miserable because of how much her life changed just overnight, and how she's stuck at home right now. That was something we talked about a while back, and it really must have been rough for Becky to go from wrestling every week to just be locked down inside her house while being pregnant. It's quite the big shift to her life, but Becky is still managing. We actually just got an appearance and some words from Becky Lynch herself via her interview with the Bella Twins. All three women, Nikki Bella, Brie Bella, and Becky Lynch, are all currently pregnant. As a matter of fact, Nikki and Brie Bella's due dates are extremely close. Brie Bella is expected to deliver within the next few days, and Nikki Bella isn't that far behind. So it's possible that the Bella Twins might have already delivered by the time you see this. But at the time of this interview, all three women were pregnant, and they talked about many different topics. Becky revealed that she often felt sick during the early weeks. She said that she's still working out, but she works out in a very limited fashion and obviously can't push herself to do more during the workouts the way she used to. Becky also claimed that she's been very overly cautious with just about everything throughout her pregnancy thus far. The Bellas asked Becky what was going through her mind when she found out about everything that was going on. Becky had this to say in response, quote, courtesy of the Bella Twins interview with Becky Lynch. I knew I wanted to have a baby before I was 35, and then I met Colby, Seth Rollins, and I was like, well, this is perfect. This is my person. So this was always the plan. Originally, I was like, I'll wait until I'm done wrestling, and then I'll have a family. Then I was like, wait, why do I have to do that? Guys don't have to do that. I'll just do it whenever the time feels right. Becky brought up a great point there. With the men, they can just start up a family whenever they want, and it never has any impact on their careers. However, things are different for the women. We often hear the exact quote that Becky mentioned of all the women athletes saying that they'll start a family after they finish with their career. But obviously, Becky Lynch didn't want to share that same idea. She just decided that she'll do it whenever she felt like, and that's exactly what happened. Becky went more in depth and said that it all started after WrestleMania 36. She didn't feel right and figured something was up. Becky Lynch had this to say during that interview with the Bella Twins. So we started trying, and I just thought it would take a long time, and it didn't. It happened immediately. We were super lucky. So it happened before it was expected, and I was still champ at the time. When we came back from WrestleMania, I was feeling sick already, and this was too early to take the test. And then I got the early response ones, which were the ones with the lines. I took one, and Colby didn't even know I took it, and one line popped up real quick, but I didn't even read the instructions, so I was like, oh, negative line. I'm so not pregnant. And then he came back from the gym that night, and I took it out, and I was like, wait, hang on, there's a second line here. Becky revealed that they spent the night Googling how to read the pregnancy test, but they still weren't so sure. Seth and Becky ended up getting a digital test that pops up with words on the screen, and that's the moment that they were 100% sure that she was pregnant. Becky Lynch is right around 4 to 5 months into her pregnancy at this current time and revealed that her due date is in December. There's been a lot of rumors about Becky Lynch's return because back in April, during her first interview after her pregnancy announcement, Becky gave an answer that sounded like she wasn't too sure on if she'll return to wrestling after her pregnancy. However, during the interview with the Bellas, Becky often gave off the impression that she would be returning. So it's just one of those things that no one is really sure about. It's possible that Becky Lynch herself still hasn't made up her mind on this big decision. It's not like she'll appear on Raw 1 week after she gives birth. That's obviously unrealistic. Becky is going to need some time to recover, to get back into the ring, to shake off that ring rust, and it'll take a while to get back into the flow of things. It's possible that'll be a hard transition back into the ring for her. So the popular rumor right now that everyone is discussing seems to be a WrestleMania return for Becky Lynch. WrestleMania will take place just about 4 months after Becky's due date, So, is that enough time for her to get ready for her return? Another thing to consider that we still don't know about at this current time is how will WWE be functioning by that time? Will WWE be back traveling the world, or will they still be doing performance center shows? If Seth and Becky are both on the road with WWE, that's obviously going to be an issue because they're barely going to have any time to be with their newborn. So there's a lot of little factors and issues that you really have to look into before considering Becky Lynch's return. As far as Becky Lynch's return story goes, I would expect for Becky Lynch to come right into the title picture upon her return. Besides the fact that it's a bit unrealistic and too generic, I think a number 30 Royal Rumble return with Becky winning the match to rightfully earn her spot at WrestleMania to win back the Raw Women's Championship would be a perfect return. The only cons about the entire Royal Rumble return and compete at WrestleMania situation is that we've seen it 100 times before, and it could feel a bit too bland and repetitive. Becky Lynch deserves a huge historic return, so maybe WWE could take her return in a more special direction, but I think the usual number 30 Royal Rumble return would still be a huge moment as well. Royal Rumble usually takes place in late January. That'll be a month after Becky gives birth. So, that might be a bit unrealistic, but it definitely will be quite the shock if that was to happen, no doubt about it. Everyone is still hopeful that we'll see Becky Lynch return sometime next year, even if it's way late in the year after WrestleMania. Real quick, want to take this time to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and enjoy what you see. We have daily new wrestling related content, so click on that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss any new videos. So this is a real interesting story because technically we have a Smackdown superstar threatening to walk away from WWE. This superstar in question is Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans is currently involved in a new storyline with Naomi that started at the karaoke competition. I'm a fan of heel Lacey Evans, but I'm just not a fan of how WWE handled this heel turn. After being a babyface for so long, Lacey Evans turns heel because she wasn't happy with the results of a singing competition. That still doesn't sit right with me, but I'm just glad that Lacey and Naomi are on television in some capacity. The fact that Lacey and Naomi actually have a non-title storyline and program going on right now is quite rare. There's a serious problem in the women's division, and that's the lack of non-title related feuds. Like it's either you're in the women's title picture or you're off of television, which isn't right at all. But getting back to the topic at hand, WWE posted the image of Lacey with her messed up lipstick, and Lacey had quite the strong response. Lacey had this to say on Twitter: "I said delete this. You're about to give me paid time off if y'all keep it up." So very interesting that the character would throw out that threat of walking away over the image of herself. Now, obviously, this isn't a real walk-off, but I thought it was interesting because I wouldn't mind seeing WWE implement a superstar walking off as a part of a storyline. It's not for it to be a jab at any superstar that has legitimately walked away from the WWE, but I just think it could be interesting to see a walk-off implemented into a story. We've seen suspensions, firings, and things like that all be included into a story. So why not switch things up and have one of the superstars walk away over a demand or something like that? But what are your thoughts on the Naomi vs. Lacey Evans story so far? And what did you think about Becky Lynch's interview with the Bella Twins as well? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.